Hey, what's up everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today doing my, continuing my 2021 year-end top 10s as we look at my number 2 junior welterweight in the world right now at 140 pounds, former unified champion Jose Ramirez. So Ramirez entering 2021 was coming off of a 2020 where he only fought once when he took on mandatory challenger Victor Postal. And he really had to work hard in that fight. He really did to defeat Postal. And, you know, it was a good back and forth, all-action fight. And he had to close the gap again in the late rounds to secure the victory. But it was not easy. He won a very close decision and retained his 2 belts. But we knew that an undisputed title fight with Josh Taylor was looming heading into 2021. There was no doubt about it that these guys were going to get it done. The governing bodies all approved of the fight. So in May, the fight would go forward, and these 2 guys Ramirez attempted to become only the, I believe at the time, only the 6th man in the 4-belt era to become an undisputed world champion with all 4 titles. And it was 2 undefeated champions, both unified champions. They had both won 2 belts, and they were out to prove who the better man was. Ramirez came up short though. He fought as hard as he could. It was close for the first 3-4 rounds. You know, he was getting outboxed a little bit, but he was closing the gap, and then he got caught cold. In the, I believe it was the 4th or the 5th round, the first knockdown occurred, and then in the 7th, I believe, was the second one that really hurt him badly. And he was very close to having the fight stopped. If they would have stopped the fight in the 7th round, I wouldn't have had an issue with it, because that's how badly he was hurt. The fight was allowed to continue, and you know, the next couple rounds, Taylor, you know, obviously took over the fight, and you know, through 10 he was ahead. You know, through 9 or 10 he was ahead by a bunch, and in the championship rounds, Ramirez closed the gap. He fought harder. He did much better. You know, it seemed like Taylor got a little bit tired. Plus, I think Taylor realized that he wasn't going to be able to stop Ramirez and wasn't going to risk anymore. So Ramirez put his foot on the gas pedal while Taylor took his foot off a little bit. Went to the scorecards where Taylor got a deserving unanimous decision, and Jose Ramirez would lose his belts and lose for the first time in his professional career. So, tough loss for him. But nothing to hang his head about. He was allowed to fight for the undisputed title. He went out on his shield and he fought the best fighter at 140 and came up just shy. You know, he fought hard, and it was a good fight. It was a good fight. He put out a good performance, but it just wasn't his night. Now, you know, he did not fight the remainder of the year, and we didn't know how he was going to come back in 2022. I personally thought there was a strong chance he'd move up to 147, but Ramirez wants to stick it out at 140. He already has his next fight signed up, which we'll get to in a minute. But looking at his stats, you know, let's look at his stats real quick for Jose Ramirez. Again, last year he was number 1, so he drops 1 spot to number 2 this year. He's 29 years old, so he's still in his prime years, you know, and he's trying to make another run here at 140 for the time being. Overall, he's 35-2 with 27 knockouts, so he's got a good solid. Oh no, he's not 35-2. He's 26-1. I'm sorry about that, with 17 knockouts, and he's still currently the WBC's number 1 contender. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean he's going to get a crack at the title? You know, we don't know. To be honest, I think he's loading himself up to challenge for the vacant belt, is what I believe. Because Josh Taylor has a mandatory defense of all 4 of his belts against Jack Catterall on February 26th. After that, which governing bodies are going to try to enforce Taylor to defend his titles? We just don't know. That's the thing. We don't know which governing bodies are going to say, hey, you have to fight your mandatory next. And I believe the WBC might be one of them, because Jose Cepeda's been waiting around for a while. But I really think if they allow Taylor to hold on to the belt, or even if they strip him, there's a very good chance that we're going to see Ramirez versus Cepeda too, to determine either the interim champion or the new you know, WBC champion at 140 because they're going to end up fighting for the vacant belt. So it's still up in the air right now. We really don't know for sure, but I'm hoping that Ramirez, who's fighting February 5th against Jose Pedraza on ESPN in a main event, I'm hoping it leads to a title shot, you know, because he didn't lose by much, and I'd love to see him and Zepeda lock horns again, or him against another top 10 guy. I don't think he's got a shot at getting a rematch with Taylor this year, but I do believe that he can work himself right back into the mix and get a couple good-sized fights. I'd love to see him fight Regis Prograis or somebody else, but I definitely would love to see a rematch between him and Zepeda. I think that almost needs to happen. The first fight was close. Ramirez took a majority decision in his hometown of Fresno. So he's fighting Jose Pedraza. He cannot overlook Pedraza, though. Pedraza is a very solid fighter. He really is. And he's a good boxer. And he might be able to outpoint Ramirez if Ramirez fights, you know, fights Pedraza's fight. But if Ramirez goes in there, wears down Ramirez, I think he can get him out of there in the middle to later rounds. And I definitely think he can win a decision if Pedraza's chin holds up through the 12th. But all that being said, I like Jose Ramirez. I think another run at 140, if he can make the weight, it's a good idea because there's more top-ranked guys there. But if not, then maybe moving up to 147 at some point this year makes sense. But I'm really excited to see what kind of year he's going to have. So that's it. That's my number 2 junior welterweight in the world for my 2021 year-end top 10s, the former unified champion, Jose Ramirez from Fresno, California. I hope you guys enjoyed this. True Boxing, you've been here with the truth.